Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IS classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 12th November 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 9 topics which are very much relevant to our UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us try to see which are the topics that we are going to discuss. So first topic is about climate finance. So actually this article will be important from environment and ecology. We are going to discuss what are the 5 principles as well. And next one it is about wide Himalayan roads must for defense. So Supreme Court asked that whenever we are going for widening of roads especially in this Himalayan region, as you already know that Himalayas they are tectonically very much active, and here these Himalayas they are mainly formed because of this continent convergence, right? So because of this, whenever we are going for widening of roads in this ecologically sensitive area, so it may also leads to landslips or landslides. So in this context, Supreme Court said some information or we need explanation from central government. Central government said that so even though it is very vulnerable for landslip, so it is very much important for our defense. So this is a thing which mainly said by central government. We are going to discuss this topic. And this is important from defense, which mainly comes under our GS paper 3. And next topic is about 18th century idol returned to UP government. So it is mainly regarding to Annapurna. Okay. So this will be important from our art and culture, which mainly comes under GS paper 1. And here we need to know some facts regarding this archaeological survey of India. And next topic is about governors should play a role of friend guide. Okay, so this is a thing which mainly said by president. Here this topic will be important from our polity. Here you need to know about some articles regarding governor and president and what will be the similarities and what are the differences here between governor and president. So that topic we are going to discuss now. So this will be important from our polity. And next topic is about Z warns against Cold War in Asia Pacific. So it is mainly relating to our AUKUS. Okay. So Australia, UK and US recently came up with this trilateral partnership, right? So regarding that thing, on the sidelines of this APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, Z mainly made this statement. So here we need to focus on this APEC because already number of times we discussed about this AUKUS, right? And this topic will be important from our international relations, which mainly comes under our GS paper 2. And next topic is about China US to increase climate cooperation. And this topic is also important from our environment and ecology, and even it can be also related to our international relations. And next topic is about undefined rule. So regarding this third meeting on Afghanistan, so this article which mainly came up and it is giving some analysis. So here we are going to discuss each and every point which is important from our UPSC point of view, and this topic will be important from our international relations, which mainly comes under GS paper 2. And next topic is about Tamil Nadu floods. So what happened because of this northeast monsoon, that is we can say like withdrawing monsoons or monsoons withdrawal or retreating monsoons, that led to higher rainfall, and because of this rainfall in Tamil Nadu, so there is floods which is mainly seen here. So this topic we can relate to our disaster management, and we can also connect this topic with our geography under this retreating monsoons. And next topic is about tax burden that attacks the federal rights of the states. So this article why I choose, because even though it is a political article, why I choose because so one important dimension which is mainly saying here regarding our constitutional provisions regarding this cess. So because of this I choose this topic, and we are going to discuss which is important from UPSC point of view from this article. So this will be important from our economy point of view, which mainly comes under GS paper 3. So these are the topics that we are going to discuss in this lecture. So first topic is about India seeks $1 trillion in climate finance to meet its target. So first of all, let us try to see what are those 5-fold path or 5 principles. Panchrat. So if you're talking about these 5-fold path, so which are come up by India in this COP26. So first one here is carbon neutrality, okay, net zero by 2070. Okay, first one is net zero by 2070, and this one is India's non-fossil fuel energy capacity. That means we are mainly focusing on renewable energy capacity, and our capacity by 2030, that should be at least 500 gigawatts. And next one is the country will meet about 50% of its electricity requirements from renewable energy itself. That is the target year is by 2030. And country will also reduce its total projected carbon emissions by a billion tons. So we are going to decrease this carbon emissions by billion tons by 2030. And next one is India will also cut carbon intensity of its economy, which is less than 45%. So these are the five important five-fold path or five principles. So now let's try to talk about this topic in a very great detail. Actually, this topic will be very important from your mains point of view, which mainly important from your GS paper 3 under environment and ecology. So if you see context, it mainly says that India demanded $1 trillion, okay, $1 trillion over next decade, that is over 10 years from developed countries. So why climate finance? Because of already these developed countries, they release large amount of emissions into atmosphere, and because of these emissions which are released by these developed countries already long back ago, now we are seeing this impact on each and every country. And these developing countries and least developed countries do not have proper technology mainly to fight against this climate change and also to achieve their NDCs, national determined contributions. So because of this, these countries already developed and which already released atmospheric emissions, they need to pay, that is polluter pay, right? So here India, which is mainly demanded about $1 trillion over next decades from developed countries to adapt and as well as to mitigate and to face challenges because of this rising temperature, this global warming. So as you all know, India is much vulnerable. So due to climate change, so whatever the glaciers that we have present in this Himalayas, that will be melting at a faster rate. So because of this melting, so whenever there are the perennial rivers that are present here, so the river water will be rising. That will lead to floods in these areas. And not only that, because of this increase in the drainage, that will also lead to increase in the level of sea, such that there is inundation of this coast that is seen. And not only that, so because of dry temperature and because of some droughts, that is also affecting our food security. And India is also vulnerable to environment. I can say like it is vulnerable to landslides. Now in Tamil Nadu we are seeing floods. In Kerala, in last month we saw floods. And not only that, in different states they are facing problems of forest fires. And there is depletion of groundwater. So all these problems are mainly related to this climate change. So to address these challenges, which are mainly due to this global warming, so we need some climate finance, we need some technology that should be shared by these developed countries with these developing and as well as least developed countries. And if you see some details, it mainly says that India's five-fold plan, which mainly aims at reducing the carbon intensity on its economy and eventually achieves net zero by 2070. So by following this five-fold plan, so India is mainly aiming to reduce its carbon emissions or carbon intensity. So in this way we can easily achieve this net zero by 2070. And next one is this net zero is when a country's carbon emissions, they are offset by taking out equivalent carbon from the atmosphere. So that means what is the meaning of this net zero? Net zero means amount of carbon dioxide which is mainly released into atmosphere is equal to amount of carbon dioxide which is mainly absorbed. Okay, so this is called as net zero or carbon neutrality. So our nationally determined contributions, okay, our NDCs, nationally determined contributions, they are conditional in nature, and they are also subjected to availability of amount of about $1 trillion in climate finance. Okay, so whenever we want to achieve our nationally determined contributions, So we need some finance, okay, about $1 trillion. So what are these NDCs? NDCs are nothing but nationally determined contributions. That means, so countries, they will set up some targets regarding how to decrease this carbon emissions and how much amount of this carbon emissions will be reduced. Like that, every country will be coming up with this NDCs, and these are voluntary in nature. And these nationally determined contributions, that mainly describes the quantum and the kind of emission cuts they will undertake over a fixed period to contribute to preventing runaway global warming. Okay, so that will be mainly helpful for runaway of this global warming. So these NDCs, they are voluntary targets, and they mainly focus on how to reduce its carbon emissions, and these are targets of the country that need to be done within a stipulated time period. Okay, and they will be mainly focusing on how to reduce this global warming. And India's last NDCs we submitted during this Paris climate deal, right? And now let us try to see next topic. Title says wide Himalayan roads must for defense. So here central government mainly says that yes, we need wide Himalayan roads. So why? What is the need of this wide Himalayan roads? Already you know that across this border between India and China, we are seeing military standoff. Since May 2020 onwards, there is nothing like complete disengagement that happened. And apart from that, now at this Doklam area and as well as at this near Siliguri corridor, there is increasing a presence of China that is seen. And along this eastern sector, along this border with Arunachal Pradesh, there is increasing of number of cities which are mainly built by China. So because of all these things, so whenever there is any war-like situation that appear, we need to move our navy, army, and as well as air force at a very greater speed, and we need to able to transport our equipment as well. For example, if you are talking about BrahMos missile, so here we need a wide roads mainly when we want to carry these missiles there or equipment there. So this is the thing which mainly said by this central government. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that the armed forces cannot surrender the nation's defense to threats of landslip, which mainly caused by widening of Himalayan roads for quickly moving military hardware to the very vulnerable Indo-China border. The Union government set the Supreme Court. So Union government said our Supreme Court that, so here we need wide roads. We need wide roads in this Himalayas. Okay, in this Himalayas, we need wider roads. We should not threat due to this landslide in that area. So if you see some more details, it mainly says that our Attorney General, so you have to know which article talks about this Attorney General of India in our Indian Constitution. So let me know which article mainly deals with this Attorney General. Okay, so I am getting a good responses from you people. I am very happy for that. So whenever I am asking questions, if you are replying to that question, then I will be feeling very much encouraged, and I will try my 100% till 100% or 110% to give you a good analysis. Okay, so let me know about which article deals about this Attorney General of India in our Indian Constitution. So our Attorney General, he said that, so this mainly when we want to move or when we want to shift this defense equipment, for example BrahMos or Vajra missile launchers and Smerk rocket carriers, so they will occupy some space or some room. So here we need wider roads. And he also said that there is a Chinese buildup that is seen in Tibetan region, and today now we are facing a situation that the country has to defend it. So whenever the situation which mainly arises that country has to defend it, so here all three wings of this armed forces, for example Indian Navy, Indian Army and Indian Air Force, they need to reach the spot very fast. So we need a good road system here, and we need to ensure that every physical and technological and financial facility is to be made available for these armed forces. And NGO citizens of Green Dune, okay, so NGO citizens of this Green Dune, mainly countered that the best defense for our country is mountains. Okay, but here some NGOs mainly says that yes, we are having a best defense system. So best defense system, it is nothing but our Himalayas. So one question that mainly asked here is whether these Himalayas mainly whether they tolerate this double lane with a paved shoulder system of roads or not. So whenever we are going for this widening of roads, whether they can be tolerated by these Himalayas or not. So this is the one question that we need to think about. And here these Himalayas are also good source of heat and as well as disruptor of ecology in this fragile area, because till now also this Indo-Australian plate which is mainly moving towards northwards. So because of this region is highly unstable, right? So this is a thing which mainly said in this topic. And now let us try to see next topic. If you see this idol, you can understand this is the idol of Annapurna Devi. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So we need to understand some facts regarding this archaeological survey of India as well. So if you see context, it mainly says that idol of goddess Annapurna was stolen from this Kashi Vishwanath temple, and after stealing of that idol, it mainly smuggled to other countries like Canada here over 100 years ago. And now this idol mainly handed over to this this UP government, and also Archaeological Survey said. So Archaeological Survey of India said that so this idol which is mainly belongs to Kashi Vishwanath temple, and this was stolen and it mainly smuggled to Canada over 100 years, and now it mainly found, and so this idol mainly handed over to UP's government. And if you see some details, it mainly says that our Union Culture Minister, he handed over this 18th century idol to the UP government. Okay, so to the UP government, our Union Culture Minister, he mainly handed over this 18th century stone idol of this UP. And this one is here, this culture minister also said that there were more than 40 antiquities had been retrieved from abroad since 2014. And if you are talking about some facts regarding this Archaeological Survey of India, so which mainly comes under Ministry of Culture. So Archaeological Survey of India, which mainly comes under Ministry of Culture, and this Ministry of Culture, it is a premier organization for archaeological research as well as protection of some cultural heritage of our nation, etc. And administrators, they will be more than 6,500 monuments, ancient monuments, and archaeological sites, they remain with the national importance. And if you are talking about activities which are mainly done by this ASI, Archaeological Survey of India, they will go for conducting of surveys of antiquarian remains, and they will go for exploration and evacuation of archaeological sites, and also they will go for conservation and maintenance of protected monuments, etc. And these are the some important objectives. And next one is if you are talking about one more important facts regarding this ASI, Archaeological Survey of India, so it mainly founded in year 1861 by Alexander Cunningham, and later on he was also called as father of archaeology. So these are some important facts regarding this Archaeological Survey of India, and I hope it is clear. And now let us try to see next topic. Title says governance should play role of friend guide. So this is a statement which is given by our president here. So why? Because our president mainly said that governance should play a role of friend and guide and philosopher. Okay, because he mainly addressing one session. Okay, so in that session here this thing which mainly said by our president. So now let us try to see what's the context. So if you see context, it mainly said that our president called upon governance to play role of friend, philosopher and guide in their state. So in their states they need to act as friend, philosopher and guide. So if you see details in this 51st conference of governance, our president mainly addressed, and in that conference he mainly said this thing. And here governors, they played an important role in creating awareness of national goals and as well as ensuring participation of people, because center which it is mainly coming up with any scheme means they need to be implemented in the states, right? So here we can say like governor will be connecting link between center and as well as state. So in this way we can say governors, they play an important role in creating awareness of national goals and as well as ensuring participation of the public. So if you see some more details, it mainly says that India's goals for climate action, which mainly including net zero emissions by 2070 as one of the national goals. So here mainly to achieve this goal, so governors, they need to play an important role. They need to motivate the people to reach such type of goals. And if you're talking about some facts regarding President of India and as well as governor, so if you're talking about President of India, he is the head of the state, and he also called as first citizen of India. And President's appointment and his powers and other related things regarding President will be presented from Article 52 to Article 62 of our Indian Constitution. And if you focus on Governor of India, so governors, he will be the constitutional head of the state, and he is mainly bounded by aid and advice of Council of Ministers headed by Chief Minister of that state. And from Articles 152 to Article 162, which mainly talks about appointment, powers and other matters which are related to this governor. And we can say governor, he will be acting as a link or a vital link, important link between center and as well as state government. And if you're talking about what are the similarities between president and governor, so first and the foremost important similarity here is, so both president and as well as governors, they gave the status of constitutional head. Okay, so governor and as well as president, they are the constitutional heads and they had the status of constitutional heads. And next one is all executive decisions are mainly taken on their name. So this is also one important thing. And next one is any ordinary bill. For example, if any ordinary bill or money bill that to be passed in their respective houses. For example, in state we have state legislature, in center we have parliament, right? So here whenever they want to pass any ordinary bill or money bill, they need to take assent. And next one is all money bills are introduced in the Lok Sabha, they should be introduced with the prior recommendation of president. And in state legislature, there is a need of prior permission or recommendation from governor. And as well as both of them have provided the power to promulgate ordinances. So let me know article which is related to ordinance of president and ordinance of governor, okay, in comment box. And if you're talking about differences between president and governor, so there are some differences. So first one is president may nominates 2 members of Anglo-Indian community in Lok Sabha, and governor may nominates 1 member of Anglo-Indian community in state legislature. And next one is president also nominates 12 members in Rajya Sabha. And if you are talking about governor, he nominates 1/6 the members of state legislative council, they will be nominated. And next one is governor does not have pardoning power with respect to death sentences. Okay, regarding death sentences, so governor do not have the pardoning power, and only president has power to pardon death sentences. And so is only president, he have power to declare war or peace. And this one is only president has the power to pardon punishment under this martial law. So these are some important facts that you need to remember regarding this governor and as well as the president. And now let us try to see next topic. It is about Xi warns against Cold War in Asia Pacific region. So why? Because on sidelines of this APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, so this is a statement which is given by Xi Jinping. So this topic will be important from our international relations, which mainly comes under our GS paper 2. Now let us try to talk about this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that Chinese President Xi Jinping warned against letting tensions in Asia-Pacific region, and that mainly caused a relapse to the Cold War mentality. So he mainly said that here mainly he is giving warning against letting tensions. Whenever there is increasing of tensions in this Asia Pacific region, that will leads to relapse of Cold War mentality. So this is the thing which mainly said by this Xi Jinping. So if you see some details, it mainly says that he mainly made some remarks on the sidelines of this annual APEC, that is Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum. So this mainly done after the week of this AUKUS, that is Australia, UK and as well as US. They came up with this strategic alliance. Okay, and they also said that they will provide some technology transfer and as well as support for especially Australia to come up with this nuclear submarines. And Chinese mainly says that it is mainly showing some harsh because Australia and China, they are having some disputes, right? And if you see, the region mainly make sure to keep supply lines functioning and to continue liberalizing trade and development and investment. So here this article mainly says that even though there are many issues that are present between the countries, so the region should ensure that there should be the supply chains. The supply lines mainly functioning and they continue to liberalize the trade and as well as investment. Okay, they need to continue liberalizing trade and as well as investment. And if you see China will remain firm and advancing reform and as well as opening up as an add impetus to economic development. On another side, China says that it wants to remain as an advancing reform and as well as opening up so as to add impetus to economic development. So these are some important things which are mainly said. And now let us try to talk about some important facts regarding this APEC. So APEC, APEC stands for Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, and when this was started in year 1989, where in Australia. So in Australia in 1989, so this APEC mainly come into existence, and it was formally established in year 1993 with 12 member countries. And currently there are about 21 member countries in this APEC. And as far as if you're talking about this member countries, so the founding members of this APEC includes Australia, Brunei, Darussalam, Canada, Indonesia, Japan, Korea, Malaysia, New Zealand, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand and as well as USA. So those are founding members. And after that, China, Hong Kong and as well as we can say like Mexico, Papua New Guinea joined. Later on Chile joined and as well as Peru, Russia and Vietnam, they joined. At present there are about 21 member countries and you have to remember those member countries for sure. And if you're talking about what are the objectives, so if you see objectives, the first and the foremost thing here is they are mainly focusing on free and open trade and investment in this Pacific region, and they are mainly focusing to accelerate regional economic integration. They are focusing on regional economic integration, and they are also focusing to encourage economic and as well as technical cooperation, and they are also focusing on human security, and they are also focusing to enhance or to facilitate favorable and sustainable business environment. Okay, so first one is they are mainly focused on free and open trade and investment in this region, and they are focused on accelerating of regional economic integration, and they also focused on encouraging of economic and technical cooperation, and they focused on enhancing of human security and to facilitate a favorable and sustainable business environment. So these are some important objectives. And now let us try to talk about next topic. It is about China, US to increase climate cooperation. So it is mainly talking about China, US to increase climate cooperation. So here this article mainly talking about both China and US are rivalries and how they came together to come up with this climate cooperation. So this is one big question mark, right? So now let us try to see this topic which is important from international relations. and we can also connect this topic from our environment and ecology. So now let us try to see why these two countries they came up together. So as you all know, US and China, they are the top emitters or top carbon polluters, and India stands third place. Okay, so China and US, they are the top carbon polluters, and they now came forward to come up with increased climate cooperation between these two countries. So if you see context, it mainly says that the world's top carbon polluters, China and as well as our United States. United States and China, they are the top most polluters in the world, and they agreed finally they agreed to come up with increase in cooperation and as well as to speed up action regarding this climate damaging emissions, and as well as it also signaled out a mutual efforts on global warming. So if you see some details, it mainly says that two countries they would work together to accelerate the emission reductions, and they required to meet the goals of 2015 Paris climate deal. So in 2015, what happened? Many countries they came up with these NDCs, and in this Paris climate deal, it also came up with one ambition, that is to decrease global warming by 2 degrees or 1.5 degrees centigrade when we are comparing with that of this pre-industrial levels, mainly to achieve those targets. Now these two countries they can work together to accelerate emissions reductions, and as well as they need to achieve the goals of this 2015 Paris climate deal. And they also said that it is not only beneficial for these two countries but also across the world. So for the major these two are the major powers, right? So whenever they are coming up with this type of initiatives, that will be very much helpful for reducing of this carbon emissions. And China also agreed for the first time to crack down these methane leaks. Okay, so here what happened, US came up with this one important strategy regarding how to cut this methane, right? So in the same way, China also agreed for the first time to crack down this methane leaks. And next one is Beijing and Washington. Okay, Beijing and Washington, they are agreed to share even technology to reduce these emissions as well. And the government mainly asked Paris to jointly cut this greenhouse gas emissions enough to keep global temperature rise well below 2 degrees centigrade as per our pre-industrial times. Okay, so these are the some important things which mainly said, and I hope it is much clear. And now let us try to say next topic. It is about undefined role. It is about third regional security dialogue on Afghanistan. So we are going to see each and every point in a 360 degrees that is important from our UPSC point of view. And this article will be important from our international relations, which mainly comes under GS paper 2. So if you see the central theme, it mainly says that India must be clear on how it wants to slope this Afghanistan destiny under this Taliban. So here we need to come up with a proper clear-cut idea regarding how to shape Afghanistan destiny. So if you're talking about this article, why it is in news? Because by holding third regional security dialogue on Afghanistan, okay, regional security dialogue on Afghanistan, which mainly chaired by our NSA Ajit Doval this week. And in this context, New Delhi, that is our central government, which mainly came up with 3 strong messages. So what are those messages? So first important message, it is regarding India will remain engaged. Okay, India will remain engaged as an important, and as well as we are going to engage in the future Afghanistan. Mainly to give a message that yes, India which is mainly remains an important and engaged player in the future of Afghanistan. And second one is that with the exit of this US NATO troops, okay, with the exit of this US NATO troops, the ideal solution for the situation which is present in Afghanistan, which is mainly to extend neighborhood including Russia. That means already you know that Afghanistan, which is under control of Taliban now, and this Taliban, they came up with this interim government, and now we are seeing there is a most instability in this Afghanistan. So because of this, now the ideal solution is we need to come up with the consensus with the other neighborhood countries of this Afghanistan as well. And next one is Asia humanitarian crisis, that should be the region's immediate priority. So the immediate priority now, it should be like we need to provide some humanitarian crisis. Humanitarian crisis is there, so that humanitarian crisis that need to be addressed. So this is the first important and urgent need that we need to do. And apart from that, if you see some details, it mainly says that the ideas of such dialogues that was came in year 2018 when US declared that they are going to withdraw their troops from Afghanistan. And later on the first and second meeting, which mainly hosted in year 2018 and as well as in year 2019, okay, which are mainly not conducted by India. And later on, we are also sent some invitations for Afghanistan neighbors, for example, some Central Asian countries like Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Iran, and even for Pakistan we sent invitation, and as well as China, Russia, etc. But Pakistan has announced that it would not attend this meeting because China, its friend, is also not attending the meeting. So if you see what is the significance. So first, if you see significance, first important point is the meeting that is being hosted by this NSCS, that is National Security Council Secretariat. So it would be the first time for the Central Asian countries. They are mainly participating in this format. Okay, so for the first time, so the Central Asian countries mainly participating in this format. So if you see, with the security concerns which are mainly pertaining to Afghanistan weighing heavily on this New Delhi mind. Okay, so what happened now, if you're talking about security issues regarding Afghanistan, so already we invested a lot in Afghanistan. So Afghanistan is very important for India because mainly to safeguard our investments and as well as mainly to decrease the threats of terrorists mainly from this Afghanistan. So in this context, if you're talking about, since the stability in Afghanistan which is essential for balanced regional approach, so they are going to have some discussions regarding this Afghanistan, right? And if you're talking about what are the challenges, there are many challenges. So first one is, if you're talking about challenges especially for Delhi, that means for central government, so first one is terrorism with Afghanistan, and also which is mainly spilling beyond the borders, not it is only restricted in this Afghanistan. So this is also one important threat. And this one is radicalization and extremism in population Afghanistan and in each of the countries. So we are also seeing some problems like radicalization and as well as extremism, etc. And this one is, we are also facing some issue regarding drug trafficking. For example, cross-border movement of people. Whenever the people are moving, they might be carrying this drugs. And this one is drug production, drug trafficking. It is also one important cause of concern. And this one is vast amount of weapons and equipment they left behind by the US and as well as allies in Afghanistan. Okay, so what are the equipments which are present or which are left by US or mainly present at there? So these are some challenges for this New Delhi. And if you're talking about some other challenges, there is absence of Pakistan and as well as absence of China. So New Delhi mainly notes that a credibility gap which mainly exists between Pakistan intentions and as well as its actions. Okay, so there is Pakistan's absence that is seen, and apart from that, even absence of China which is mainly seen here, and Taliban are not invited here. And this one is security threats. So here we are also going to have some security threats regarding we can say like a national interest, national security interest, and that mainly helps to frame to approach a deal with uncertain present and future Afghanistan. So whenever we are going for this security interest here, so there is also some challenge like they may not be accepting and the approach may not be certain for them. So this is just of this topic and I hope it is clear. And now let us try to see next topic. It is about season of floods. So this is about Tamil Nadu retreating monsoon. So as you know that whenever the monsoon winds that mainly hitting the coast of Kerala, that will be divided into two branches, Arabian Sea branch and as well as Bay of Bengal branch, and they are hitting this coast on June 1st. And this Arabian Sea, it mainly moves in this direction, and this Bay of Bengal branch that will be entering into northeastern region, and there will be like funneling effect that is mainly seen, and because of this funneling effect there is high rainfall in this northeastern India, and after that they will be moving in this direction, finally they will meet. And what happened after that? Again the retreating monsoon, that is these monsoonal winds reversal that is happening. So whenever it is coming like this, so whenever withdraw of this monsoons are coming like this, so it mainly hit the coast of Tamil Nadu, and that will leads to heavy rainfall in this Tamil Nadu regions. And this topic which is mainly related to our geography. And now let us try to see some important things which are mainly given in this topic. So this topic mainly talking about Tamil Nadu floods, right? So the ongoing spell of heavy rain in this Chennai, so again that led to exposure of vulnerability of the city here. Okay, and here what happened? Because of this northeast monsoon or retreating monsoon, that led to heavy rainfall. So here if you see, despite of the storm water which mainly drains, the waterways running which is about 700 kilometers, they are being cleared for last 4 months. So because of this retreating monsoons, already this Chennai which experienced floods badly in earlier years. So because of this, government mainly took some steps mainly for clearing of this rivers etc., such that they will be having high capacity to mainly to carry the water, that will lead to decreasing of floods. But what happened, the problem which is mainly seen, that is regarding issuance of drainage. Okay, so even though whenever there is a depression which is formed in this Bay of Bengal, so which is a very less intense, and it might not cause any floods in this Tamil Nadu now if we took some long term measures. So that's the thing which is mainly said here. Okay, and if you're talking about this state which this city which mainly blessed even with a few rivers like Coombe River and as well as Adya River. So whenever there is no proper natural drainage is present, so we need to connect this flooded water that need to be enter into these rivers. And next one is all these water bodies, if they are properly maintained, and they can be very effective effective flood carriers, and as well as effective sparing several residential offices, and as well as from inundation. So from inundation as well as from flood carriers, and as well as they will be also act as several residential localities. And the state government which is executing a couple of integrated storm work drain projects. So in this way, author finally says that when we want to address this type of issues, we need to focus on this better drainage system, and we need to come up with long-term strategies rather than the short-term strategies. So this is gist of this topic, and now let us try to see next topic. A tax burden that attacks the federal rights of the state. So this article mainly talking about cess on petrol and diesel. So already you know that central government recently reduced excise duty, excise duty on petrol and as well as diesel. So because of this decreasing of excise duty on this petrol and diesel, that led to mainly decreasing of price of this petrol by 10 rupees, petrol by 5 rupees and diesel by 10 rupees of cost, that mainly decreased here. So if you see some details, it mainly says that, so this article is mainly wrote by Finance Minister of Kerala. He mainly says that Finance Ministry mainly dedicated the reduction to farmers for keeping the economic growth momentum, and as well as mainly to go towards this COVID-19 lockdown phase, and as well as they also focusing to boost farmers upcoming rabi season as well. So because of all these things, there is decreasing of excise duty that mainly seen here. Okay, so author mainly ask one question, that what else can be more hypothetical than this? So for this, so Central says that Central already been levying rupees 31 and as well as 33 in additional as an additional cess on petrol and as well as diesel respectively. So on petrol and diesel it mainly decreased 31 rupees and as well as 33 rupees respectively. So next one here is the constitution. Okay, so if you see our constitution, which does not permit center to levy cess and as well as surcharges, which is mainly beyond this basic taxes. So here center do not have the right to increase the surcharges and as well as to levy cess, which is very much high than compared to the top basic taxes as well as duties in extraordinary situation. So if you see here, how these cess and surcharge, which is more than 6 to 8 times than that of this I can say like basic taxes. So but by making it many-fold higher than the basic taxes, so it is nothing but a misuse of such provisions of constitution. So whenever center which is coming up with increasing of this taxes, for example I can say like excise duty and as well as For example, I can say like many other taxes which are mainly higher than that of whatever the minimum thing that you need to get here. Okay, so here what happened, there will be tax which is imposed by government. So on this tax there will be some other additional tax will be laid, that is surcharge, and as well as cess will be levied. Cess, it is for specific purpose, and surcharge is nothing for any purpose. So what happened, whenever these surcharges and as well as these I can say here cess which is more than that of this basic tax, means how is it possible? Because whenever these surcharges and as well as these cess which is mainly collected by center, that will not consider this divisible pool here. So because of this, that will leave mainly highly very much burden for the states. And surcharge, if you see, it is mainly defined as small amount of the tax which is mainly levied on the existing tax, that is we can say tax on tax. So how can 7 or 8 times higher than the state tax? Okay, how this surcharge and as well as cess which is higher than that of basic tax, that is 7-8 times higher than that of basic tax. So this is one important question. And now if you're talking about basic excise duty, it is just rupees 1.40, and the rest of the tax which is made up of some special additional excise duties and as well as cess, that which would not go to the divisible pool. Okay, so whenever the cess and as well as surcharges which are mainly collecting, they will not come under this divisible pool. So actually now present divisible pool, it is 41%. Earlier it was 42%, but because of Union Territory which is mainly formed like Jammu and Kashmir and as well as Ladakh, that mainly decreased to 41%. So this cess and this surcharge will not come under this divisible pool here. So author mainly says that it is one important article, that is article 271. So article 271 which mainly says that in article 269 and as well as in article 279, Parliament may at any time can increase any duties or taxes. But here article 246A which mainly says that whatever the surcharge which is mainly imposed by union government, that need to be proceed. Okay, so here this is the thing which mainly said in one article. So even though without taking into consideration this article, whenever there is increasing of cess and as a surcharge, which mainly violates the principles of our constitution. Okay, so here this article 246A, it is one of the saving clause which is being misused by the center to curtail the rights of all the states. Okay, so this is just of this topic and I hope it is clear. So by this I am concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to Rathod's IAS and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. Thank you so much.